What if I told you the most revolutionary teachings of Jesus were deliberately hidden from you? I'm going to reveal 3 transformative truths about Jesus that churches don't want you to know. First, why Jesus himself said to stop asking him for things. It's right there in the Bible, but this teaching has been buried for centuries. Second, how Jesus' original method for divine connection wasn't prayer at all. It was something far more powerful that most churches ignore. And finally, I'll show you the hidden meaning behind Jesus' words about the right side that reveals his actual teaching about accessing divine wisdom. This isn't another feel-good spiritual video. If you've ever felt frustrated with prayer or questioned why your spiritual practice isn't working, stay with me. Let's begin with a question that might shake your entire belief system. When you pray, who exactly is listening? You know what fascinates me? When millions of people pray every day, but almost no one stops to ask the most fundamental question: who's actually listening? Think about it. When you look up at the ceiling and pray, where exactly are those words going? Are they floating up to some cosmic receiver? Is there someone behind the spiritual curtain taking notes? Here's something that might shake your entire understanding of prayer. We see it everywhere on TV. Call our prayer line now. Ask Jesus into your heart. But what if I told you that these widely accepted practices directly contradict Jesus' own words? Let me take you on a journey that might challenge everything you've been taught about prayer. In John 16:23, Jesus makes a statement that most churches conveniently overlook. He says, "And on that day, you shall ask me for nothing." Now pause for a moment. If Jesus himself says not to ask him for anything, why are millions being told to do exactly that? This isn't just a minor theological detail. It's a complete reversal of what we've been taught. But it gets even more interesting. In John 16:26 and 27, Jesus drops another bombshell. He explicitly states, "I say not to you that I will pray for you." Think about that. While every church and prayer group offers to pray for you, Jesus himself says he won't. You might be wondering, well, if Jesus won't pray for me, and I shouldn't pray to him, what's the point of prayer at all? That's exactly the question that led me to discover something profound about the nature of consciousness and divine connection. The answer lies in Jesus' next words. He says, "The Father himself loves you." This isn't just a comforting platitude. It's a key to understanding the true nature of prayer and divine connection that's been hidden in plain sight for centuries. What I'm about to share next will transform your understanding of not just prayer, but your entire relationship with the divine. It's a revelation that explains why the traditional model of prayer might actually be keeping you from the very connection you're seeking. Here's where things get really interesting. You see, when Jesus said he wouldn't pray for people, he wasn't being dismissive. He was revealing something revolutionary about your relationship with the divine. Think about this. Every time you go to someone else to pray for you, you're actually blocking yourself from accessing the most powerful spiritual connection available. Why? Because there's a part of you that is literally divine. It's your higher consciousness, your direct link to what we call God. Now, I know this might sound radical, but consider what Jesus himself said. The kingdom is within you. Not in some distant heaven, not in a church building, but within you. This isn't just poetry. It's a practical instruction that's been hiding in plain sight. Let me share something profound. When you rise into higher consciousness through meditation, when you quiet those constant thoughts and reach that place of profound stillness, you're not just relaxing. You're actually accessing what Hebrews 10:19 calls the holy place. But here's the kicker. That holy place is your higher consciousness. You've probably never heard this interpretation in church. Because let's be honest, if people realized they had direct access to divine wisdom, would they need an elite clergy class? Would they need intermediaries telling them they're somehow lower or less worthy? This is why Jesus was so revolutionary. He wasn't setting himself up as another barrier between you and divine connection. Instead, he said in John 14:23, "At that time you'll know I'm in the Father, and you in me, and I in you." Think about the implications of that statement. But here's where it gets truly mind-bending. There's an ancient Eastern story that perfectly illustrates why this understanding is so crucial for your spiritual journey. It involves an emperor, a holy man, and a profound lesson about the nature of prayer that will completely transform how you view your relationship with the divine. This story Well, it's going to challenge everything you think you know about spiritual authority, prayer, and your own divine nature. And once you hear it, you'll never look at prayer, or yourself, the same way again. Let me share this ancient Eastern wisdom that will forever change how you view prayer. There was once a holy man named B who lived in a small town. One day, the town officials came to him with an urgent request. They desperately needed funds for schools and hospitals. Now, here's where it gets interesting. They asked B to petition the Emperor Akbar for help. When B arrived at the palace, he found something unexpected. The emperor wasn't on his throne. He was in his prayer room. Picture this scene. The mighty Emperor Akbar, kneeling and pleading, "Oh God in heaven, send us more money. We need help for the children, for the hospitals. Make my empire great. Send money, oh God Almighty." What B did next was absolutely shocking. He stood up and started walking out. The emperor, startled, spun around and demanded to know who dared interrupt his prayers. B's response? "To tell you the truth, I was looking for the emperor, but instead I found a beggar." Can you imagine the emperor's reaction? But B wasn't finished. He looked straight at Akbar and delivered a truth bomb that echoes through centuries. "If you've got to pray to God to get your money, what am I doing talking to you? I might as well go directly to the source." This story, it perfectly captures what Jesus was trying to tell us. You see, religion has turned you into a beggar, sitting on the back porch of the palace when you actually have the authority to walk straight into the vault. Here's the revolutionary part. You have what Hebrews 10:19 calls authority to enter the holy place. But this isn't about a physical temple or church. It's about accessing your higher consciousness through profound meditation. Think about it. While religion keeps you begging for worthless junk on the outside, you have direct access to the treasure vault within. But there's a specific way to access this inner sanctuary, a method that combines ancient wisdom with precise spiritual practice. And this is where things get truly transformative. Because I'm about to share a hidden meaning from the Bible, something you've probably heard countless times but never understood. It's a secret that explains exactly how to access this inner kingdom, and it involves a surprising story about a camel, a needle, and a truth that's been hiding in plain sight. Let me share something that will completely transform how you understand one of the Bible's most misinterpreted passages. You know that famous line about it being easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven? Well, here's what they never told you. In ancient Jerusalem, there was a specific gate called the Eye of the Needle. Now, this isn't just some interesting historical fact. It's a key to understanding the entire process of spiritual transformation. Picture this scene. A merchant arrives at this low gate with their camel. But here's the fascinating part. To get through this gate, they had to do something very specific. First, they had to remove all the burdens from the camel's back. Then, and this is crucial, they had to get that camel down on its knees. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Jesus wasn't just telling a story about rich people in heaven. He was giving us a precise blueprint for spiritual transformation. You see, like that heavily laden camel, we're all carrying burdens. Our traditions, our doctrines, our pride. Think about it. How many times have you said, "I've got to figure this out myself"? Walking back and forth, mind racing, trying to think your way out of problems. As Buddha brilliantly pointed out, isn't it ridiculous to try thinking your way out of a problem when thinking is what got you into it? This is where meditation comes in. Like that camel having to kneel, you need to symbolically kneel, to quiet your mind, to let go of all those mental burdens. But here's the challenge. Just like it was incredibly difficult to get a camel through that gate, it's extremely hard to convince your proud, stubborn nature to truly let go. You might go to church, have people pray over you, anoint you with oil, but when you get home, you're alone with your problems again. This is why Jesus emphasized something so specific about the right side, a detail that holds the key to accessing higher consciousness. What I'm about to share next is a revelation about the right hemisphere of your brain that explains exactly why Jesus told his disciples to cast their nets to the right side. It's a scientific and spiritual truth that bridges ancient wisdom with modern neuroscience, and it's going to change everything you thought you knew about meditation and divine connection. Here's a mind-blowing connection that's been hidden for centuries. When Jesus told his disciples to cast their nets to the right side, he wasn't just giving fishing advice. He was revealing a profound truth about your brain's spiritual potential. You see, when you're constantly trying to figure everything out, when you're stuck in that endless loop of problem solving, you're operating primarily from your left brain. But here's the revolutionary part. The divine connection you're seeking? It's accessed through your right hemisphere. Think about this. The disciples asked Jesus, if it's as hard as getting a camel through the eye of a needle, then who can be saved? His response changes everything. With men, it's impossible. Now here's what that really means. When he says with men, he's talking about your analytical mind. Your priest, your minister, your rabbi, they're all operating from the same limited left brain consciousness that's keeping you stuck. As Paul said, the carnal mind is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can it be. But there's something transformative happening. When you learn to activate your right hemisphere through proper meditation, you're literally lighting up brain cells you've never used before, accessing wisdom that transcends ordinary thinking. Here's the problem though. Most people are just reading about enlightenment instead of experiencing it. It's like going to a Mexican restaurant and just reading the menu. What good is it to know how delicious the enchiladas are if you never taste one? You need to devour the spiritual food, not just read about it. This is why Jesus said, "Why do you call me Lord and not do what I tell you to do?" He gave specific instructions about the single eye, an Eastern symbol for meditation that literally fills your body with light and divine wisdom. But there's a crucial warning here. Don't fall for the everything good happens after you die trap. That's just another way of saying, give me your money now, get your benefits later. Jesus was clear. He's the God of the living, not the dead. You're meant to experience heaven on earth, right now, through elevated consciousness. And this leads us to the most practical part. I'm about to share specific meditation techniques that combine ancient wisdom with modern understanding. These aren't just theories. They're proven methods for accessing that divine right brain consciousness and transforming your life today. Let me share something powerful about real spiritual transformation. You see, when you meditate the way Jesus actually taught, you're not just sitting quietly, you're literally lifting your consciousness into what he called the upper room, that place of divine nothingness where real wisdom flows. Here's what most people don't understand. Salvation isn't about waiting for some future event. Think about it. What good is being saved if you can't even save yourself from a headache? The truth is, you need practical spiritual tools that work right now, in this life. You know what's fascinating? While some preachers tell you this earth is just a passing through point, they're missing Jesus' entire message. This world isn't some cosmic waiting room. It's a beautiful place that can become heaven on earth when we access Christ consciousness. Let me be clear about something. When you enter that state of divine nothingness, when you truly separate from the endless chatter of thoughts, something remarkable happens. You begin receiving direction from a higher dominion, not through words or visions, but through pure knowing. This is why, when you lift yourself above the carnal mind, when you touch that place of pure consciousness, you're not just escaping problems. You're accessing solutions from a divine perspective. You're literally thinking with brain cells that have never been activated before. And here's the revolutionary part. By illuminating the right hemisphere of your brain through proper meditation, you're not just getting temporary relief. You're transforming your entire existence, creating what Jesus called life more abundant. Think about this profound truth. The book of Revelation isn't about some future apocalypse. It's God's psychology, a manual for mastering your mind and body. When it talks about fire coming down from heaven, it describes the spiritual fire of higher consciousness, purging away all those limiting earthly thoughts. This is the real meaning of enlightenment. Not just reading about it, not just talking about it, but experiencing it directly. When you enter that place of profound meditation, when you touch that divine nothingness, you're not just practicing some technique. You're fulfilling Jesus' actual teaching about seeking the kingdom within. Remember, the universe isn't waiting for you to die to give you its gifts. The time for transformation is now. Through proper meditation, through awakening your right hemisphere, through entering that upper room of consciousness, you can experience heaven on earth. Not after death, not in some distant future, but right here, right now. The choice is yours. Will you keep reading the menu, or are you ready to taste the feast?